Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Full Court Press Basketball Debate. May 4th, 2015, Chris Guyette here with Yvonne Juno. The first round of the NBA playoffs is over. We're here to recap, and we're here to talk about the upcoming series and some headlines and a whole bunch of analysis. Get ready. This one's going to be good. We're going to start with the series and probably the game of the year. Game 7 between the Los Angeles Clippers and the San Antonio Spurs literally came down, in case you missed it, I feel sorry for you, to the very last second. With 1 second to play, Chris Paul hit a floater over Tim Duncan to put the Clippers in front by 2, and they eliminated the defending champion, San Antonio Spurs. Yvonne Juno, question A. Your thoughts on the outcome of this game?
My thoughts on the outcome of the game are not as important as the fact that it was one of the most incredible games to watch. Okay? There were some bad calls. There were some missed calls. I understand all that. But it was so fast-paced. It was so eventful. It was so tight and so close for the entire game. They kept trading. This one was ahead by 2. This one was ahead by 4. This one came back with 2. This one did a three-point shot. It was one of the most exciting games I have ever seen. I was very happy, even though San Antonio was not only my pick to win the first round, they were my pick to win the whole thing. They were. And that disappointed me greatly. But if they had to lose to anybody, I am not disappointed that they lost to the Clippers. Okay? Do I think there were some questionable calls? Yes. Okay? Chris Paul, before you start dogging him, Chris Paul played injured. He did. You could see it. You could see the grimace on his face. Halfway through the first quarter, he pulled his hamstring on his left leg. You could see him running down the court when it caught, and he grabbed the back of his left leg. They took him to the back. They checked it, made sure it was not a complete tear. I think he only pulled. What was the final?
Strain.
Strain. Okay. I'm glad it didn't tear. He came back with a black bandage, or whatever you want to call a thigh, whatever, and played the rest of the game off and on. And he played through the pain. He played an exceptional game. And he made that last game-winning shot with a grimace on his face, up on one leg, and won the game. And that was thrilling and exciting. However, he is not without flaws. He is not without faults. And I am going to say that I was very disappointed and disillusioned, because at one point, I'm not sure if it was the end of the third or the beginning of the fourth. Anyway, he flopped. I forget who it was against, but he flopped. And it was an obvious flop. And Papa and I both said it at the same time. Oh my God, Chris Paul just flopped. Nobody called it. Nobody caught it. Or if they did, they chose to ignore it. But Chris Paul flopped, and I never, ever, ever dreamed that I would see that. So I'm a little disillusioned right at this moment. But I'm going to go back to what I said. I wanted San Antonio to take it all the way and win the whole thing. If they had to lose to anybody, I'm good with them losing to the Clippers. Now you can go ahead and start your rant.
Before I get down to the game, I think it is important that we give an abundance of credit to the San Antonio Spurs.
Absolutely.
for
Remind me, there's something else I want to say, but go ahead
for
with your
making
commentary.
this the greatest 7-game series that I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Back and forth, one lead to another. It was a classic, but it was a typical San Antonio Spurs 7-game series. It was typical.
Well, Papa says, and he's right, it was what every playoff game should be like.
Chris Paul playing through the hamstring. To your point, and I'm going to give credit to the Clippers before I start quote-unquote dogging Chris Paul. I'm going to give credit to not only Chris Paul, but I'm going to give an abundance of credit to J.J. Redick.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I'm going to give an abundance of credit to Blake Griffin.
Yes.
And to Doc Rivers.
Yes. I agree with all of that.
Now, Chris Paul, playing through the pain, that's something that you have to do.
Well, everybody's supposed to. And I follow you, but they don't.
My problem is he's questionable for tonight's game against Houston.
Is he?
So should he have played? I don't know. How long-term is it?
Okay.
Because if
but
this
at least they got through round one.
Okay, but if this affects him long-time, what good did it do? If this affects him long-term, and if it... Yeah, it was
Wait a minute.
Wait, let me finish.
They play tonight?
Yes!
Well, they didn't get any break at all.
They got 2 days' worth.
Yeah, but some of these teams have had a week, 2 weeks.
That's because they ended their series in 4 games.
I know that. Oh my gosh.
Now wait, let me finish. It was diagnosed as a strained hamstring. What if it's more than that now?
After him playing.
What good did it do?
Is there any updates right now?
No. Okay?
Are they saying questionable?
He's questionable. Okay, that's my point about the hamstring. The flop.
If he hadn't done it and played through the hamstring, they would be out.
The flop. This did not happen late in the third. This did not happen early in the fourth.
When did it happen?
This was the game-tying jump shot with less than a minute to go in the game.
Was it?
Because...
They tied up so many times.
Because he hit the jump shot. Tim Duncan, quote, ran into him when you could obviously see Chris Paul kick his legs out, which is illegal. And they called not only the 2-point basket, but they called a foul on Duncan, which allowed Chris Paul to go to the free throw line and hit the and one to tie the game. Oh, and it was a flop.
Yeah, I know. I saw it. I was very disappointed.
And let's not forget, Chris Paul is the inventor of flopping. He is the master of it. Flopping started with Chris Paul. Chris Paul?
Why did I not know this?
I don't know. But Chris Paul invented the art of flopping. Okay? Now, they're going to let that slide and not fine him $25,000 for flopping. Which, okay, I can let that go. Here's my issue with this game. Referees in any sport are not perfect.
No.
They are human beings. They make mistakes. I will be the first one to say that. And I am all about giving the referees
the benefit
of the doubt, which is why I am not a huge fan of this replay system, because I think it does the ref's job for them.
Right.
That being said, this was the sketchiest game I have ever seen.
You have to explain to me what you mean by that.
Number one is the flop. That is an offensive foul on Chris Paul that they looked at and got away with.
They looked at that on the replay?
No. But the refs were right there and saw it happen.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? They looked at that. No problem. With 1 second left, San Antonio got the ball back. If you look at the highlights, you'll see what I'm talking about.
The buzzer.
No. If you look back at the highlights, you will see Greg Popovich and the entire San Antonio coaching staff go ballistic. You know what I'm talking about? With 1 second left, they zoomed in on that San Antonio head coach, the San Antonio assistant coach, and his face was bright red, and he was screaming.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, well, why? Why the hell is that happening? The referees allowed the Clippers to make a substitution with 1 second left in the game. That, according to the NBA rules, is illegal. That is illegal.
Who did they substitute?
The guy that just happened to make the defensive play, Matt Barnes. So, if Matt Barnes... Wait, it connects. Because after they make that substitution, San Antonio inbounds the ball. And the only way to get a shot off in 1 second is to throw it at the goal.
Right.
Kawhi Leonard goes up to get it, and Matt Barnes swats it out of the air.
Right.
Matt Barnes just so happened to be the guy that they substituted in. So if Matt Barnes doesn't get in the game, does Kawhi Leonard tie the game?
Well, why'd they allow that to go through if that's a rule that...
That's my point. But they're the refs. They let it happen.
And then we've got the buzzer incident too.
And Kawhi Leonard was fouled on the last play. 3 sketchy calls.
4.
In a minute.
4.
1 minute.
How about the... You're not going to talk about the buzzer? After they had all gotten in the circle for that last timeout, that 20-second timeout, and Pop is quickly drawing on something, okay? And the buzzer went off too fast.
Oh, that's the shot clock people's fault. I'm not blaming that on the refs. That's the shot clock people's fault.
No, but like Papa said, that enabled them, enabled the Clippers
But that's not the refs.
What?
But that's
San Antonio was going to do.
Right, but that's not on the officials. That's on the shot clock people.
Okay.
So they should be fired. I agree with that.
Uh-huh.
But the referees, in 1 minute, allowed 3 things to happen that should not have happened. Now, I'm all about giving the referees the benefit of the doubt.
Are you saying you think the referees were bought off?
Wait. Am I saying that the referees cost the Spurs the game? No, that's not what I'm saying. Because Chris Paul cost the Spurs the game. That shot with 1 second left was so incredible, he will never hit a shot like that again. I promise you. Okay? It was so incredible, and he costed the Spurs the game. He won the game.
Yeah.
I'm not arguing that.
Injured on one leg.
I am saying that the referees...
The things that led up to it.
...were absolutely pathetic in this game. And the referee's job becomes most important in crunch time. And these referees absolutely collapsed in this last minute of Game 7. They absolutely collapsed. So, you don't want to get booed, so you're going to call for the home team. The home team happened to be the Clippers. Does this happen if we're in San Antonio? Is there a different outcome? I don't know. My point is...
Okay, so what you're saying is you think these were deliberate calls in favor of the Clippers?
I don't think they were deliberate. I think the refs didn't know what to do because they were inexperienced. So they called for the home team.
Inexperienced?
Yeah.
Wasn't one of the refs the turtle?
No. Not for Game 7. For Game 6, yes. Not for Game 7.
I thought Turtle Man was out there.
No, Joe Crawford was not a referee for Game 7. And he should have been.
Okay.
My point is...
I couldn't even remember his real name. All I know is that you and Papa call him Turtle.
Credit the Clippers. Credit Chris Paul. Credit the Spurs. Discredit the referees. They were absolutely horrible in this game. It was so sketchy, and that's the last time you'll see Tim Duncan on a basketball floor.
That's what I wanted. Are you finished?
For Tim Duncan to go out like that is just insulting. It is absolutely insulting. It is insulting to his legacy. It is insulting to him as a man. It is insulting to him as a human being. And I don't care if Chris Paul and Tim Duncan embraced after the game. I don't care. I'm not dogging Chris Paul. I'm dogging the officials. What Chris Paul did in this game was fantastic. It was fabulous. It was Herculean. It is also what Chris Paul should do every game. But the referees just cast a shadow on Tim Duncan's legacy. And I can't stand it.
That was his last game. That was his last game.
Can't stand it.
It was very emotional to see Chris Paul and Tim Duncan embrace each other.
Oh, it was.
And Chris Paul's bottom lip was trembling, and he said...
You got to remember, these guys both went to Wake Forest.
Well, not
these
only
guys
that...
played AAU together.
Well, and it's like Chris Paul said after the game was over, I've been knowing him since I'm 11 years old.
Right.
It breaks my heart to know that he's not going to be on the court anymore.
Yeah. Now, question B, Yvonne. Is the proverbial monkey off of Chris Paul's back?
Of course not.
Why not?
Because he's got to perform the way that he did every time. I mean, are you kidding me? I can't believe they have to play tonight. Talk about no break at all. I mean...
Welcome to the playoffs.
Cleveland won how long ago?
They closed it out in 4 games. They closed it out in 4 games.
Crap.
They earned the rest.
I hear you. Since the... Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. They closed it out.
Since the 26th.
They earned the rest.
Oh, I thought the Clippers would have at least 1 or 2 days.
They did. They had 2 days. You got to remember they're playing in the same state tonight, so it's not like they traveled.
It doesn't matter. If he injured that hamstring more than it was while he was on the court, or the swelling set in, or the fluid built up.
We'll find out tonight, won't we?
Yeah, we sure will.
So the monkey's not off of Chris Paul's back?
No, of course not. He's got to do this for every game. He and Blake and JJ, and they got to do this for every game. They have to. If they expect to win against Houston.
I have heard for days, oh, finally Chris Paul gets that playoff victory. Finally, there's not a shadow over him.
There's a long way to go.
Everybody, please shut your mouths.
No, there's a long way to go before that would happen.
Is the monkey off of Chris Paul's back? The baby monkey is. Chris Paul had 2 monkeys on his back coming into the playoffs. Number 1 was beating the Spurs.
Of course.
He did it.
Okay.
But this is not what he came here for.
No.
He's been here before.
Right.
The monkey will only, and I mean only, go away if he wins a championship.
Yeah.
Because that's the main goal.
That's the main goal for all of them.
He's been here before. He don't care about this.
No.
So no, the monkey is
this
not
was only step 1.
off of his back.
That's why he played last night with that leg like that. So he could get through step 1.
The monkey will not automatically disappear. He has to make it disappear.
Well, I'll go back to commentaries ago when you said the Clippers, and I'm quoting you, the Clippers will only go as far as Chris Paul allows them to go. And it's proving to be true. But you can't take anything away from Blake and JJ and
Oh, I'm not.
JJ Redick is phenomenal. But I don't know how they're going to fare against Houston. Are we going to talk about that?
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to talk about it. No. Later.
Okay, because I have a lot to say about that.
Good. Last night's games. Golden State destroys Memphis and takes game 1. Yvonne, your thoughts on the outcome of game 1?
What do you want me to say?
There's actually more to be said than you think.
Oh my God, it was embarrassing.
Why?
What was the final score?
Oh, I don't remember the final score. They won by like 20 points.
Yeah, they won by more than 20 points. At one point, it was more than 30 points.
Okay.
Golden State's going to beat Memphis, baby.
I have no doubt that they're going to beat Memphis.
Okay.
But they're not going to beat Memphis like that if Mike Conley comes back. Everybody has to remember.
I know, but have you seen him today?
Everybody has to remember. I don't care how he looks. It's about how he feels.
No, but there's one. He's so swollen, baby. He's only got one eye to see out of.
Okay, but
they are. I know I'm interrupting you. They are really taking his career in their hands. If they let him play like that,
they aren't doing anything.
Well, the coach should talk him out of playing.
Okay, but you can only do that so much. If a player says he wants to go and it's an advantage for your team to allow him on the floor, you play him. If the player...
Your coach is supposed to take care of his players.
But if the player says he can go, only the player knows how he's feeling. It's a good win for Golden State, but I'm not putting too much into this. I want to see if Stephen Curry can do that against somebody besides Nick Calathes. Give me a damn break. Nick Calathes? People, calm down. It was obvious that Golden State was going to win game 1. Without Mike Conley...
When do they play again? When does Conley play again?
I don't know when Conley's coming back. That's my point. The sooner...
Conley plays for Memphis.
Yes. But
they play tomorrow night.
But he's not necessarily coming back for tomorrow night.
But I'm saying they're scheduled for tomorrow night.
Don't make too much out of this win. Okay? Yeah, you won. You're at home, and Stephen Curry's being guarded by Nick Calathes. Give me a break. Okay? Can he do that against Mike Conley? I don't know. I don't know.
With the way Conley is right now,
I have no doubts.
If he opts to play, I think he can.
I have no doubts that Golden State's going to win the series, but I know damn well they're not going to do that in Memphis. I can guarantee you that much. Now.
Oh. What do you still have them in 6?
Depends on when Conley comes back. But yeah, I think that's fair to say.
That's what I have.
I think that's fair to say. Now, what does Golden State have to do to win this series?
Keep playing the way that they're playing?
Wrong. Because if they played like they did yesterday, they're going to get beat. Take an in-depth look at the stats. They were horrible yesterday, besides shooting the basketball. They played a very clumsy game yesterday.
Oh, yeah. Where was the defense yesterday?
Oh, defense isn't the problem. 15 turnovers? Against Memphis?
I didn't realize there was that many.
Against Memphis?
I didn't realize there was that many. There was 50 turnovers.
Just for Golden State.
That's what I'm talking about.
It's a playoff high. 15 turnovers. This goes to my point that Golden State doesn't like physical play.
No.
They don't like aggression.
They don't like contact
in
their face. Nope.
Okay?
Nope.
In order for Golden State to win, they need to do 3 things. Number 1, hit your shots and make Memphis work. Push the tempo. Run. Memphis doesn't like to run. They play half court. Number 2, limit turnovers. 15 is 10 too many.
Totally unacceptable.
10 too many. Okay? And number 3, free throws. 10 of 15. Golden State. 10 of 15.
Who made 10 of 15?
Golden State.
As a team?
Uh-huh. Number one, you're not taking enough free throws. And number two, 66%? That's not going to get it done.
They usually do a lot better than that.
They have 3 90% free throw shooters on their team.
Absolutely.
3! And you go 10 of 15? Very clumsy game. Very nonchalant, very clumsy game. I dare them to do that in Memphis. I dare them.
And they've had a lot of rest.
I was disappointed in Golden State.
And they've had a lot of rest.
I was disappointed.
They beat the Pelicans.
I was disappointed. Now, this one is tougher to answer, Yvonne. What does Memphis have to do to win this series? We both predict that Golden State's gonna win. But for Memphis to have a shot, what do they have to do?
They have to stay on Curry. They have to stay on Thompson. And they have to get up in their business and personal space. Okay? And they have to block or try to steal or do whatever they can to keep them from being in the corners and making those three-point shots.
3 things, and you hit one of them. My number one thing that Memphis has to do is be physical.
Absolutely.
Golden State shies from contact. They don't like it. As proof in this game.
Sorry to interrupt you again. Which is going to be a hell of a thing to see if the Clippers beat Houston, because Chris Paul in Curry's face, that's not going to be pretty.
Number 2, in order for Memphis to have any shot, they need Mike Conley back.
Yeah.
Okay? Even at 75%, Mike Conley.
I'm worried about
Mike Conley
playing.
at 75% is an upgrade from Nick Calathis. I'm sorry. It is.
Yeah,
and
baby,
number
but
3.
playing with one eye
And
almost
number
shut.
3, win the rebounding battle. Marc Gasol and Zach Randolph have got to outplay Andrew Bogut and Draymond Green. That's what the Pelicans couldn't do, is outplay Draymond Green.
Come on, baby, you got Zach Randolph in the middle of the court. That's kind of like That's kind of like when Shaq used to play. You got one that's big and tall in Gasol, and you've got Zach Randolph that all he's got to do is stand there in the middle of the paint.
Who wins game 2?
That's tomorrow night. Well, it also depends on if Conley plays.
I don't think it depends on that.
They're playing in Golden State. I think Golden State's going to win it
I
again.
agree. 2-0 headed to Memphis is what I have.
Me too.
That crowd is too much.
Yeah.
Too much for Memphis right now.
They got the best home court advantage. Now that San Antonio's out of it, they've got the best home court advantage.
I still think...
Just like the best bench in the league is gone.
I still think there's one that's better than Golden State. I'm sorry. Game 7 with the Clippers, that crowd, are you kidding me? In the Staples Center?
Yeah, baby, but they're not that way consistently. Golden State's
are in the playoffs.
Well, okay. But Golden State's crowd has been that way since the first game of the season.
We'll see.
Yeah, well.
Let's go to the next series.
You're right.
Washington steals Game 1 and home court against Atlanta. 104-98 was the final score. Washington beats Atlanta in Atlanta. Yvonne, question A. How surprised were you by this outcome?
I don't want to use the word surprised. I was happy because they're my pick. Okay? Washington is my pick.
You got Atlanta in your conference finals.
Oh, I do.
We both do.
Oh, that's right.
Now, I want Washington to win.
Me too.
But that's not what I think's going to happen.
I know. But, I mean, they swept over Toronto like it was nothing. But let me tell you something, okay? Let me tell you something. Every little tidbit of information you've ever heard about Paul Pierce, he is playing like he played 10 or 15 years ago. It's a beautiful thing to see. It's a beautiful thing to see. And also, I did not realize that Washington, it was their 4th time winning on the road in a playoff final. It's the fourth time that they've won and closed out round one in playoffs, not on their own home court. That's a big statement. That's a big statement.
I wasn't shocked
Me either.
that Washington won the game because
I think we both said that could go either way.
because of the fact that in game one in any series it's a level playing field. It's 0-0. I don't care about home court advantage. It doesn't apply in game one. Okay? This was Atlanta's game to lose. If you're going to win a game at home, make it game two. It stops momentum going to Washington. If Atlanta wins game two, game one is Atlanta's to lose. Okay? If I'm an Atlanta fan, don't look at this as, oh my God, we're in trouble. You got another game at home.
Yeah.
And Atlanta played a great game.
Yeah.
But I was a little surprised that after one quarter, Atlanta was up by 17.
Yeah.
And Washington rallied.
Yeah.
I was really surprised that Atlanta let that happen at home. And once again, the most efficient player on the whole damn floor was the 36-year-old washed-up piece of crap Paul Pierce. I don't know how many times I have to say it about experience,
I know.
but it needs to get through everybody's skull.
I've never seen him smile so much in my whole life. As in the last 3 games.
What does Washington have to do to win this series?
Oh, be consistent. They have to be consistent. They have to stay healthy. They have to stay strong. They have to keep listening to Paul Pierce, and they have to be consistent.
I have 4 things that Washington has to do to win this series.
They have to be consistent.
You hit 2 with the nail on the head. But you got to be more specific than be consistent. Who needs to be consistent?
Paul.
I'm not worried about Paul Pierce's consistency in the playoffs.
Okay.
I am worried about the backcourt.
Oh.
John Wall and Bradley Beal.
John Wall played a great game.
Okay, but they're so off and on.
Yeah.
All year long.
Yep.
Including in the Toronto series.
Yep.
Okay?
Didn't Wall get hurt yesterday?
He had a little pull. He's fine.
He's fine?
He's fine.
Okay.
The backcourt of Washington has to be consistent. Okay? They have got to provide the bulk of the scoring. They have got to pass the ball well. They've got to push the tempo. Number 2, Paul Pierce. B, Paul Pierce.
Right.
Lead your team.
Right.
Hit big shots. You don't have to score 30 a game, but
Stay
hit the big
healthy.
shots. Another thing Washington has to do.
And why do they all feel like... I have a question. Sorry. Why? When you know you can run up 4 more steps and make a solid 2, why do they stop? Just for it to be said they're trying to make a 3 when it's
You say that as an analyst. It's different when you're on the floor. I get what you're saying.
when you're guaranteed a 2, you can run almost all the way up to the basket.
But even that
why stop and try to take a shot that's a 3 when you've got a chance that you might not make it?
Even that's not
I'd
guaranteed.
rather have a 2.
Yeah, and I get where you're coming from, but you say that as an analyst. If you get on the floor, it's different. Your mind is moving by itself. It's hard to explain, but...
I think part of it's an ego thing.
Number 3. And this is what Washington did a great job of in Game 1, and that is weather the storm. Atlanta is going to come out and come out and come out. They are a team of quick starts. This is not a second half team. This is a team that jumps out by 25 or 30 points at halftime and just moseys along and keeps the lead. If Washington can weather the storm...
They're a first half team.
They are already... They have one-upped Atlanta already if they can weather the storm. And number 4, and the most important one, Atlanta, see if you can follow my train of thought here, Yvonne. Atlanta prides themselves on offense or defense? Prides themselves on their defense, correct? So
Yeah.
Washington has to do what? Control their turnovers. If they turn the ball over against Atlanta, you can forget it.
Oh, yeah, because they'll be all over.
You can forget
They'll
it.
be right there to take advantage of any little slip-up.
How about Atlanta? What does Atlanta have to do? Now down 1-0. What does Atlanta have to do to
It's
win
only
this
the
series?
first game. You said that yourself a while ago.
Oh, yeah, I know. But you still look at it as 1-0.
I understand
So
that.
game 2 is a must-win.
Yeah, and it's in Atlanta again.
Thank God.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's a whole different ball game when they go back to Washington.
So what do you think they have to do to win the series?
Oh, they have to get, if they are going to win against Washington, they have to get out there immediately, rack up as many points as they can before halftime. Because that's when they're the strongest. They get out there and they start running immediately. They get control of the ball. They start running immediately. They're very fast and very physical. They're a first half team. They need to rack up those points before they go to the locker room at halftime.
4 things that Atlanta has to do, and see if you agree with me on these. Number 1, rely on your defense. Yeah, rack up points in the first half, but in the second half, you got to play defense.
Oh, yeah.
You got to play defense the whole game.
Yep.
But most importantly, in the third and fourth quarter, rely on your defense. It's what got you to the big dance. You got to rely on it. Number 2, win the coaching battle. Mike Budenholzer's Coach of the Year, right?
Right.
Prove it. Number 3, use Paul Millsap and Al Horford. You got 2 very good big men down there. Which leads to my 4th point of stop taking so many threes.
That's what I was talking about a few
Do
minutes
you
ago.
have any idea what their 3-point numbers were in game 1?
No. How many attempts and fails?
13 of 38.
Oh, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. That's my point. Why is it when you've got a clear avenue and a clear shot, it only involves maybe passing the ball once or twice for the guy that's standing under the goal to make that 2-point that you're guaranteed to get? Why stop and try to obtain a 3?
13 of 38 when you have Paul Millsap and Al Horford down there? I mean, come on. That, to me, that's just asinine. That's just stupid. I don't see.
I agree.
Okay, let's move on.
Hey, they're not all J.J. Redick.
Game 2.
Okay.
Who wins game 2?
Played yesterday. Off tonight. They played tomorrow night. Anybody injured or hurt from last night's game?
Nope.
Everybody's still there?
Yep. Everybody's good.
I see Washington winning this one too.
Really?
Yeah.
I got Atlanta.
Okay.
I don't think Atlanta is Toronto. I don't think they're going to drop both at home.
Oh, I'm not saying it's going to be a sweep.
But then you got 2 in Washington.
Uh-huh.
They'd have to win both in Washington. Or one of 2 in Washington.
Well, if Atlanta's going to win one to break the possibility of a sweep, it better be tomorrow night.
It's a must-win. And
Yeah.
I think Atlanta does it. I think we're going to have an even playing field in Game 3.
Well, let me put it to you this way. If Washington wins tomorrow night, there's a much bigger chance that there is a possibility of the
Oh,
sweep.
absolutely.
Because the 2 after that are in Washington.
Oh, absolutely.
And that would really be something, considering Atlanta was supposed to be the one that takes it all. As the analysts were saying before the season started.
We'll see about that. Okay, Yvonne, announced this morning. Stephen Curry wins the MVP award. James Harden second, LeBron James third.
They announced it this morning.
Stephen Curry got 100 of 130 first place votes. James Harden second, LeBron James third, Chris Paul fourth, Anthony Davis fifth. Yvonne, is this right? Why or why not?
I don't want to talk about this for too long.
No, we're not going to talk about it for too long. But
Yeah,
it's final now.
Yeah, it's right. It's right. It's right. I don't want it to be, but it's right. I'm willing to admit that it's right. Because of the points he racked up, because of the games that were won, and because of the way that he played not only in the regular season, but in so far what they've done in the playoffs. It's right.
It's right because you can't make a case against it.
Exactly. That's my point.
Look.
You can't argue.
Look. Give the devil his due.
You can't argue the point.
Congratulations to Steph Curry. He deserves it.
I didn't want him to win it.
Well,
but what I want and how he performed is two different things.
he was the most consistent.
Yes.
Yes. Look, congratulations to Steph Curry. He is the second Golden State Warrior to ever win the award. The only other Warrior to ever win the MVP award is Wilt Chamberlain. So, congratulations.
Can I interrupt? Is it just a rumor what I read on Yahoo about the fact that they're talking about Kevin Durant going to Golden State?
That's a rumor. That's not going to happen.
Okay.
That's a rumor.